Hurricane Melissa made its second landfall as an extremely dangerous Category 3 storm just after 3 a.m. this morning. Packing winds up to 120 miles per hour. The National Hurricane Center warns of flooding, rains, and dangerous storm surge for the eastern part of the island. Cuba's president said hundreds of thousands of people were evacuated, and a hurricane warning remains in place for much of the country.
The storm already pulverized parts of Jamaica, where more than 500,000 people are without power. Hurricane Melissa made landfall there yesterday as a devastating Category 5 storm. Maximum sustained winds reached up to 185 miles an hour, ripping the roofs off buildings. Many neighborhoods, like the one you see here on your screen, are underwater. Jamaica's prime minister says they're trying to get relief to the places hit hardest as soon as possible. He offered an early assessment of the damage.
Jamaica has sustained a major impact. The corridor of damage is significant. We have lost hospitals. Certainly, our road infrastructure would have been damaged, which would include bridges, gullies, and waterways.
We will have the latest forecast and an update on relief efforts in Jamaica. We're going to start with NBC News reporter Ed Augustin, who is live in Havana, Cuba. Ed, good morning. We hope you and your team are staying safe. Just tell us, what are the conditions like right now? Are you already hearing early reports of any damage?
Well, I'm speaking to you from Havana, which is far away from eastern Cuba, where the hurricane is currently rolling over and causing massive destruction in all likelihood. Here it's calm. There, people are contending with a Category 3 hurricane that is tearing through the country. It entered over Santiago de Cuba. That's the country's second biggest city. At round about just gone 3 in the morning. It's still tearing through the country, and Cubans in that part of the country are going to have to be contending with the massive hurricane for a few hours yet. It's too early for damage reports. As you can see, it's dark behind me, and in the east of Cuba, it's dark without any power, without any internet, without any communications, and so it's way too early to have any sense of the magnitude. What we do know is that upwards of 735,000 people were evacuated. That is a huge logistical operation, and that's surely going to increase the safety of a lot of people. And we also have reports that the army, in early hours this morning, were rescuing one group of people, according to state media reports, from flooding. And we have no idea whether or not those people made it out alive.
And more than 730,000 people were evacuated from their homes in Cuba. Good news when people heed those evacuation warnings. Tell us about that and the resources available to them.
Well, it's one of the defining things about Cuba, and it's a complete paradox, right? I'm speaking to you in a country that literally cannot keep the lights on. After a day of reporting yesterday, I went home, no light. Woke up this morning, no light. And yet, this same country that's plagued by potholes, food shortages, increasing public health problems with dengue fever because there's not enough money, it would seem, to be able to even fumigate, is still able to mobilize huge resources, buses, lorries, state workers to evacuate that amount of people. The population in Cuba probably these days is less than 10 million. 735,000 is a huge proportion of 10 million, about 7%. And I think simply that there's two reasons for it. First of all, there's a long-standing political commitment to evacuate people, not just telling people that they have to evacuate, but providing the means for them to evacuate. And second of all, because of the structure of the Cuban economy, the state owns an awful lot of resources. It has the schools, it has the universities, it has shelters. And that same economic structure, leads to a whole load of problems. Economically, very inefficient economy. A lot of people would say it would lead to a lack of liberty on the island. But when it comes to hurricanes, the resources are there and they're made available. And we'll see in the coming hours whether or not that has saved as many lives as it normally does.
Ed, we'll continue to check in with you. Please continue to stay safe, and thank you for your reporting this morning.
Now let's bring in Sarah Shaw. She is the director of the American Friends of Jamaica, and she lives in Kingston with her family. Sarah, good morning. Thank you very much for making some time to speak with us. I know it's been a long few days for you and your family. First, how are you doing this morning, and what are you seeing and hearing on the ground?
We personally are incredibly fortunate that we have come through this relatively unscathed. The rest of the country is in really dire straits. We've seen video out of Black River, St. Elizabeth, Clarendon, parishes more to the west of us. Of course, Montego Bay, which is our tourism capital, was really hit hard last night as the storm exited the island. So while I personally am in good shape, the rest of the country is in very dire straits.
I know your organization just announced a $1 million matching fund to help with relief and recovery efforts there in Jamaica. Just what's the top priority now that the storm has passed? How do you start to pick up the pieces after a disaster of this magnitude?
So yes, our board of directors has committed $1 million to match donations that come in through our website at www.theafj.org. Our primary focus is partnering with boots on the ground organizations. We've got incredible relationships with people like the Global Empowerment Mission, Food for the Poor. JetBlue has been an incredible sponsor for us, committing airfare and the means to get people to Jamaica to help. San Marina Foundation has stepped up, as well as Dennis Shipping, which is a local New York organization. So the primary focus for us is to empower folks who are down here, who are on the ground, they know what's going on, to get them the resources they need to deliver resources to people that are left without.
What resources do people need the most right now, do you think?
It's so hard to say. I mean, the video that's coming out, people have lost roofs, right? So obviously timber, zinc, like tarpaulins in the meantime, obviously food, you know, they're going to need basically everything. People, once your roof blows away, the rain is torrential, you know, everything you own is soaked, your mattress, any furniture you have. It's really complete devastation for a lot of the island.
Meteorologists have said this is the most powerful hurricane of this season, and we know it's the most powerful to ever hit Jamaica. The last storm to hit Jamaica this hard caused nearly $10 billion in damage. Obviously, it's early right now, but based on what you're hearing, how long do you think it will be before we even start to get a clear picture of the damage?
Well, you know, one thing about Jamaicans, we are a resilient people. We are born from struggle, and the spirit of the people here is just indomitable. I have no doubt that the country is going to pull together. People have an incredible sense of community. Everybody, you know, will pull together for each other. And we're also confident that Jamaicans and friends of Jamaica in the diaspora will come together and help however we can. That said, you know, this storm has hit on the shoulder of our high season for tourism. It's hit our tourism capital. You know, this is going to be a very, very difficult path to recovery. But when you look at Beryl a year on, I guess we're a year and a half on, there's been incredible progress. You know, places on the South Coast, you wouldn't even know that it happened. So I'm confident that the country is going to come together and respond in short order.
Really quickly, what can people do if they're watching right now and they want to help with relief efforts?
So obviously for us, the priority is to amass the funds. We'd love to be able to match that full $1 million. People can donate at www.theafj.org. There are also a number of other trusted, you know, charities and response agencies that are doing work on the ground. That's a great place for money as well. I think in the immediate aftermath of any disaster, money is really what's needed. Supplies, things like that can come later, but right now we're staging an airlift to arrive in Jamaica, hopefully this week as soon as the airport's open. I think I heard this morning that might be tomorrow. So cash is king, supplies are great. Please keep us in your thoughts, root for us, come visit us, and we're sending one love from Jamaica.
All right, Sarah Shaw, we've heard a lot about how great that community is over the past 24 hours. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We're thinking about you and your family.
Thanks.
All right, NBC meteorologist Angie Lastman joins us now with the latest on Melissa's path.
Hi, Angie. Good morning.
Hi, guys. Good morning. Still going to be looking at impacts from Melissa here for at least the next couple of days in other locations, of course. We've still got these hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings in effect across parts of the Caribbean, but specifically making that second landfall around 3 o'clock this morning in eastern Cuba. It's still maintaining Category 3 strength. So even still, after dealing with the terrain of Jamaica, now dealing with the terrain of Cuba, Cuba. I likely think we'll be talking about a Cat 3, Cat 2 here, maybe some weakening in some locations. You can kind of see that eye isn't quite as defined because it is interacting with the land of Cuba. Now, we've got it moving northeast at 12 miles per hour and still 115 mile per hour winds associated with this system. Likely Cat 3, maybe Cat 2 here as we get later into the day. It'll start to pull away from Cuba, and they'll see much of that rain kind of shift over parts of the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. But between now and then, we'll pick up some really ample amounts, anywhere from 5 to 10 inches of rain across that region. We'll see the storm surge be a potential for folks in the Bahamas as well as Turks and Caicos. And then by the time we get into Thursday, early morning hours, we're going to start to see this system well off kind of in the distance for folks across the Caribbean. But we're not done looking at potential impacts. We're still going to see the plan be for Bermuda to see some kind of impacts. We'll see it kind of cross near into the region of that island here as we get into tomorrow evening. Meanwhile, we've got a whole lot of tropical moisture that's going to kind of feed into this system that's working across the eastern United States. So they're not connected with Melissa per se, but it is giving it a whole lot of moisture. So it's going to be a soggy one for folks across that region. Just heads up for tomorrow. By the time we get into Friday, we'll see that northeastern storm kind of work its way into Canada and depart. And Melissa will become post-tropical, and we will be kind of wrapping up talking about Melissa. But between now and then, some really impressive rainfall amounts. This was, of course, a big story with what folks were dealing with in Jamaica, guys. We've still got additional rainfall that we're expecting across Cuba, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and eventually Bermuda. So far from done, but improvements for folks in Jamaica for sure.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for being with us this Wednesday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. We're going to begin this hour with Hurricane Melissa wreaking havoc in the Caribbean. The storm is battering Cuba this morning with damaging winds and flooding rains after making landfall there earlier this morning. The National Hurricane Center is calling it an extremely dangerous storm and warned Cuban residents to remain sheltered.
And meanwhile, people in Jamaica are waking up to scenes of devastation after Hurricane Melissa came ashore there yesterday as a Category 5 storm, bringing 185-mile-an-hour winds to the island. A hurricane warning remains in effect throughout the Caribbean as Hurricane Melissa is expected to move towards the Bahamas later today. NBC News correspondent George Solis is in Kingston, Jamaica, where he rode out the storm. He's got the latest. George, good morning.
Kingston may have been spared the worst of the damage, but we still saw some of those torrential rains and some of those destructive tropical force storm winds like this billboard here behind me that just took an absolute beating. Now, images coming out where the storm did make landfall paint a picture of catastrophe. The damage assessment only just beginning. This morning, Hurricane Melissa making another landfall, slamming into Cuba with driving rain and wind. The island evacuating more than 730,000 people, while U.S. personnel at Guantanamo Bay told to take shelter ahead of the storm. It comes just hours after Melissa's historic landfall in Jamaica as a catastrophic Category 5 hurricane with destructive 185-mile-an-hour winds.
Our infrastructure has been severely compromised.
Melissa unleashing raging floodwaters and a life-threatening storm surge, leaving neighborhoods like St. Elizabeth Parish completely underwater. This was the terrifying scene outside a local hospital. Melissa first roared ashore midday on Jamaica's southwestern coast before tearing across the island. This was the reaction from the meteorologist at NBC 6 in Miami as he received a live update on the deadly storm's unbelievable power.
Oh, my Jesus Christ. Okay. All right, I'm going to hold it together here.
Visitors at this hotel forced to evacuate to the ballroom, where they rode out the storm, huddled together on the floor. Christina and Tony Malshodi of Iowa are in Jamaica celebrating their anniversary. How scary has this ordeal been?
Oh, for me, it was horrific. It was absolutely terrifying.
Officials warning the damage assessment could take weeks and that the recovery could be hampered by airports closed. Communication has been a real problem, especially where the storm did make landfall with all those cell phone towers and those power outages. Nation officials also saying they plan on looking at the nation's airports today, particularly the one in Montego Bay and here in Kingston. And depending on what they find, they may be able to start those crucial relief flights to bring aid to those areas that were absolutely ravaged by the storm. President Trump also saying the U.S. will provide humanitarian aid. Back to you.
All right, George, thank you.
For more on this, let's bring in the mayor of Montego Bay, Richard Vernon. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us. I know this is a busy morning for you. Prior to the storm, you said Montego Bay was as ready as it can be. Now that the storm has made landfall and passed through, just tell us, what are you seeing this morning? How extensive is the damage?
Very extensive. By the way, good morning to you and your viewers. We started some assessment from last evening. We went out at about 9 p.m. to look at what was happening there. We got several calls from communities about being marooned, and the major roadways have been inundated by floodwaters. We have no power. The major supplier is down, JPS. The utilities damaged. The service for telecommunications down, but we have about 30% of the island having access to telecommunication. But in Montego Bay, it has hit us hard. A lot of damage to private and public assets, and the infrastructure. We are yet to see the extent of the damage there, but based on all indications thus far, it is suggesting that we have a lot of work to do in the coming weeks.
Right now, what are your priorities in responding to this storm? And have you been able to, like for the people that you said were marooned, have rescue operations been able to take place yet?
We started that process last evening. By the time we were able to reach, the water started receding, so they were able to hop off their roofs because they had to go there for safety. And they are back now into their homes and doing their cleanup exercise. But our priority is to check first and foremost to ensure that we have no casualties or loss of lives. Then our shelters, we have to check on those. We have to also clear the important roadways to ensure that the people have access to essential services and the hospital. Then we have to start connecting communities. So we will have to clear the major roadways that are connecting Montego Bay to the rest of the municipality. And of course, to do the assessment of those who need immediate supply. And we will take it from there because that is important to us, those areas.
Mayor, we know tourism obviously is big business for you in Montego Bay, and there were plenty of tourists who weren't able to get out in time. Talk about how you've been dealing with helping those who don't call Jamaica home, and also, and I know this is in the future, but just looking ahead to the recovery you have to do to make sure that the tourism gets back up and running as quickly as possible.
Certainly. Provisions were made by the hotels to assist the tourists. We have a major shelter for tourists, the Montego Bay Convention Center. It was not used per se, which tells me that the tourists were in good hands where the hotels are concerned. They managed to house them, to feed them, and to ensure that they are comfortable. And the convention center, we only received about 3 calls for the center to be used for 3 tourists. And that was it. They weren't transported to the area because at that time it was too dangerous to transport them. So they stayed at the Airbnb. They weren't in a hotel. So we are going to get some more information from the Tourism Association. In terms of the airport, we will have to get some more information from the Montego Bay Jamaica Airport, MBJ, to know exactly how we will treat with reopening exercise. It has been badly damaged, and I foresee us being in a state of I would call it lockdown for a few days before we'll be able to start moving people around effectively. But as soon as we have the chance to, we will allow them to leave because we understand how they're feeling now. We understand that they need to get back to their family, and how shocking this must have been for them, coming to the Caribbean for a vacation to enjoy themselves and having to deal with a hurricane, a Category 5 hurricane at that, not just any hurricane.
Mayor Richard Vernon, we appreciate your time this morning. We know you have a lot on your plate, and this is just the beginning. Please continue to keep us updated, all right?
Thank you very much, and thanks for checking in.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mayor. We're thinking of you. Well, for more on the storm relief response, let's bring in Olga Isaza. She's the UNICEF representative for Kingston, Jamaica. Olga, good morning. So, I think it's a big blessing after this just monster of a storm that we're not hearing large loss of life numbers, but UNICEF does estimate that 1.6 million children across the Caribbean were at some type of risk because of the storm. What are those risks, and what are the top priorities right now as these areas try to recover for children and families?
Good morning, everyone. Let me start by expressing my solidarity with all the families and children that are suffering in this moment here in Jamaica and across the Caribbean. Yes, the impact is huge. Here in Jamaica, we are just seeing like at least 250,000 children are severely affected. And those children are, of course, in the localized in the specific parishes that the eye have touched. And the priorities are several. We are seeing needs in water, sanitation, hygiene. Definitely the food and the nutrition of those children under 5 is one of our concerns. We are also seeing absolutely need of psychosocial support. And later on, as you know, in Jamaica, the schools are shelters. So the education process is absolutely broken. So we have to restart all the conditions for children to retake their activities. Of course, now the priority is water, sanitation, food, and all the life-saving interventions.
What are the biggest challenges getting those things, the food, the water, the supplies, to these hard-hit areas, to these children and families in need as soon as possible?
We are facing several channels. Fortunately, we have been deployed some of the preposition items since last week. So in many of the shelters, we already have all those kits ready to support the people. But of course, it will last very short. We need the airports open again to receive all the aids. We are ready. We are deploying things by vessel from Barbados and by plane from Panama. So we are just waiting to have the conditions ready to receive all those supplies to immediately support the people. I am leaving now to the countryside to understand and to see firsthand what is happening there. The different models that we have developed, combining speed of the wind and amount of water, specifically in some communities, we have the information about how many children are there, and we are trying to get there to really start supporting them in the best way possible.
Olga, how can people help with these rescue and recovery efforts if they're listening right now?
Thank you so much for this question. This is critical. Everybody that is hearing us, we really need your support. It's a matter of solidarity. The climate change has impacted all of us. Today is here, tomorrow is there. So please enter to the UNICEF page and click in donate and help us to help children. We are here in the field. We have the global experience to manage emergency, and we are ready to channel your efforts, your sentiments toward children in Jamaica.
A reputable organization to give your donations to. Olga, incredible work you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's get the latest on Hurricane Melissa's path. Angie Lastman joins us with the latest.
Yeah, hi, Angie. Good morning. What's the latest?
Hi, guys. Good morning. We've got that 8 a.m. update from the National Hurricane Center. As expected, with the look of the satellite just about an hour ago, we are down to a Category 2. Still a hurricane, no longer a major hurricane, 105-mile-per-hour winds, and we're moving now a little bit at a bit of a faster pace of 14 miles per hour to the northeast. Still, we're going to continue to see some additional rainfall through the day for Jamaica in single-digit amounts. But then folks across Cuba, we've got still folks across the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos potentially going to be impacted here by this system as we go through the next day or so. Here's how it plays out. Remains a Category 2 as it kind of emerges off of the coast of Cuba as we get through the morning hours. Beyond that, it's the Bahamas, again, that we'll see take the major impacts. We're talking heavy rain, strong winds, the potential for storm surges there for folks in Cuba and the Bahamas through the day today, as well as Turks and Caicos. We'll see up to 10 inches of rain for our friends across this region, and then an additional up to 8 feet of storm surge for folks there as well. So we'll be watching that. Eventually, we're going to be talking about this system potentially impacting Bermuda as we get into the later parts of your Thursday. Meanwhile, we'll have kind of a mess of a forecast for folks trying to get any outdoor activities in across parts of the east as we get into Thursday. We'll see some soggy conditions from this other front, essentially, this system that's going to be dragging in some of this tropical moisture from Melissa. So kind of fueling plenty of that moisture across parts of the East Coast. So that is something to note here as we get into tomorrow. By the time we get to Friday, that system departs into Canada. Melissa becomes post-tropical, and we'll kind of be looking at quieter conditions between now and then. Additional rainfall, though, specifically for Cuba, we're talking multiple more inches. By the time this is said and done, we could have double digits across this region. Of course, we know what it was like for Jamaica when it comes to the rainfall, and then the Bahamas additionally going to see some heavy rain. But Melissa, just incredibly record-breaking. This is just a list of some of the things that we've seen in the past 24 or 36 hours, and really since the system formed. Strongest hurricane at landfall. It ties for both the pressure and for the wind speed. We're also talking about world record for the driest eye. This system looked incredibly similar to typhoons, super typhoons that you see in the Pacific, guys. Strongest storm this late in the season. It maintained 36 plus hours of a Category 5, and only 4 other storms in the history of record keeping have ever done that. And the list goes on. I mean, it's just really been incredible to watch from a meteorological standpoint.
I'm struck, second most Category 5s this
year?
Season.
This season, yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Incredible. And when you look at the numbers otherwise, we're kind of pretty average for the amount of storms that formed and then became major. But when it comes to Category 5, it's hard not to kind of attribute that. We've got some incredible rapid attribution studies coming out for climate change that just show the warm waters, the additional precipitation that we have, all of that is kind of interconnected with, of course, our changing climate and rapid intensification. And Melissa, I think, is a great example of that.
It was fortunate that a lot of those, though, it did not impact land.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Which is why
and
we
that's
didn't
why
talk
this
so much
one
about
is so
them.
incredible. Yeah.
Right. Angie, thank you so much.
Of course.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.